Missy, I am so proud that I made it through Terms of Endearment, movie, and podcast without crying. I was, very stuck on the mantra, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry.
You were determined.
I was determined. But I have to ask you, are your eyes still puffy from recording?
You
did not contain it.
I tried, but I couldn't contain myself. But they are not still puffy. That movie is such a mix of like heartbreak and humor. I'm just still trying to recover, especially from the line where Shirley MacLaine comes out and is like, "I got her the shot." I mean, I'm sorry, I couldn't help crying.
I wasn't sure you were going to make it through that final goodbye scene with the boys. You were a mess. And you know what? I think we've earned a little lighthearted fun this week.
Absolutely. Real fans, it's time to leave the sadness and jump into a film that will have you going overboard with laughing from start to finish.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I knew you would.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Missy. And this is Real Sisters Rewind.
Join us as we go back to the 80s. Welcome back to Real Sisters Rewind. I'm Amanda Stephens here with my sister and co-host, Missy Washam. If you love revisiting 80s movies and sharing a good laugh or cry, sometimes both, then you are in the right place.
That's right, Amanda. Each week we rewind to one of our favorite films of the 80s, breaking it down scene by scene, diving into the trivia, and of course, throwing in a little sisterly banter at times for good measure.
Yes, and speaking of sisterly banter, we've got something so fun for you today. But before we dive in, we'd love for you to subscribe or follow the podcast and leave us a 5-star review. It goes such a long way, real fans, in helping our podcast reach other listeners. So please just take a moment right now, just pause and go follow us and leave that 5-star review. If you do, we'll send you a Real Sisters Rewind sticker. Just take a screenshot of your review and email it to hello@realsistersrewind.com.
All right, so back to the sisterly banter. We've got it squared away for you today, meaning Amanda and I have another fabulous sister duo with us. One of my besties is here, Faith Gremillion, with her wonderful sister, also a treasured friend, Torri Weber. Welcome, y'all.
Yes, welcome. We are so glad that you are both joining us today. So much fun.
I'm excited to be here.
So am I. I can't wait. Let's get started.
So I'm Faith.
I'm Torri.
And they are so much fun. It's so funny. I reached out to Torri, Amanda, to Faith, and I was like, "Don't you love Overboard?" She said, "I do, but it is Torri's favorite movie." And I was like, all right, then let's do it. And Torri, you love this movie? You love Goldie Hawn?
Absolutely. Anything she's in, I absolutely love.
Good.
If I could meet her, she would be my number one dinner date.
Oh, like if they
love
asked that question, like, who would you have dinner with?
Always say Goldie Hawn.
Oh, well, maybe she'll hear this and say, that cute girl, I have dinner with her.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be so fun.
Torri, I have one more quick question for Torri about that. Are you a big fan of her daughter's movies as well? Because they're so similar.
Yes, and she is so similar to her mom.
That's what I mean. They're like,
she's
when
adorable.
you watch her, it's so much like watching her mom.
Exactly. Very lighthearted and fun and almost ditzy at times. I can relate to that.
Well, I'm so excited. Double the sisters, double the fun. Real fans, grab your life jackets. Let's rewind all the way back to 1987.
December 16th, 1987. That's when this week's movie hit theaters. Right in time for the holiday season. People love to go to the movies during the holidays. Missy, do you remember the first time you saw it?
Do I remember the first time I saw it? I know I saw it in the theaters, but I don't have a memory. My guess would be that maybe we saw it over the Christmas break. What about you girls? What about you
Probably
girls?
so. Probably so. I don't have a specific memory of that, but I'm assuming I would have gone to see it as soon as it came out.
So maybe on opening night.
Maybe so.
You would have stood in line
I would have.
to buy your ticket, hoping it didn't sell out before you got to the front.
Oh,
So that
frustrating.
you could go and fight for a good seat, right? It's different
Yes.
now, isn't it?
It is.
I have not thought about that, Missy, because we haven't even talked about that. It wasn't just waiting in line to get your ticket before it got sold out, but it was really aggravating if you waited in line and got your ticket and you had to sit on the front row, or you had to separate.
Or on the sides. I'm a middle girl. Yeah, separate, Faith. We would not like that, would we?
No.
Honestly, when I go in now to buy a movie ticket, if I don't have a middle option for all my crew to sit together middle, I'm choosing another day.
I don't mind in
Yeah,
sitting.
I know. I want middle. All right, Faith, what about you? Do you remember seeing it the first time?
Well, I'm sure I went to the theater to see it.
Now, would y'all have gone together or would y'all have gone separately?
Most likely separately.
Probably
we were in two different seasons of life at that point.
Yeah, and that's the same way Amanda and I are, because Torri and Faith, you guys are how far apart?
6 years.
Okay, and Amanda and I are 8 years apart. So Torri, we're big sister. And then Amanda and Faith, you are the baby sisters. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Faith, but when you said that about 2 seasons of life, you're right.
Yeah, I was a sophomore in college.
Yep.
So I was in the big city of Monroe, Louisiana at the time, because we grew up in a very small town, and I would not trade that for anything in the world. And so I was a sophomore in college. So I'm sure I went, maybe not during Christmas break, but when we came back for the spring semester, because it came out in December.
Yeah, I'm sure we talked about it.
I'm sure we did. I'm sure we did. She had so many funny lines in that movie. I can't wait to talk about those.
To dive in. Amanda, do you remember the first time you saw it? Because you wouldn't have seen it in theaters, I don't think.
I don't know. In my brain, I feel like I maybe did see it in theaters. But I can't remember for sure. This is one that I don't have a solid. I remember watching it many
I think that's the thing, isn't it, with a movie like this? Like, unless there's something big that you remember about going, you've just seen it so many times that you're like, I don't even know the first time I saw it.
Especially then, this was like the prime time of like renting, where the renting movies started.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't say prime time. This was like when it was really getting on a roll. And so you would rent movies that you'd seen in the theater or hadn't seen in the theater multiple times.
Yeah, but you just had to wait. You had to wait for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, the movie came out in 1987, and we were just there, Amanda, when we did the rewind to Can't Buy Me Love. But the year had plenty to share. So even though we were just there, there's a lot that you can share about this year. And so I wanted to start with something fun that I think was on my Christmas list that year, which was a Swatch watch. Now, did you ladies have a Swatch watch, or did you have many?
I was just about to say multiple. Had Faith hold on, Faith. We're coming on that. Multiple. Would you, even in college, you would have wanted one, Missy? You really think?
Oh, yeah. That's when they were like huge, and you would wear more than one at a time. Like you would double stack them, wouldn't you, girls?
Yes. And do y'all remember?
I don't think I wore one.
The little guards, the little plastic, the little guards you would put over it.
That would like strap on.
Yes.
So, Faithy, you put up 3. You had 3 Swatch watches. Do you remember anything about them?
I did. I loved my Swatch watches. And so I'm sure I got one for Christmas, of course. But my roommate in college, she had multiple everything. So your Swatch watch inventory, it doubled. So, we were Our tree torn inventory doubled.
Oh, tree
Our
torns.
Swatch watches doubled. Our Azad, with the little flip collar and like the plaid polo on the outside.
Oh, yeah, double shirted.
Our wardrobe doubled. So it was fun. And we were about the same size. So God rest her soul. But anyway, she was a really a fun person to swap.
Swap swatches.
Yeah,
well, you know what, Torri? I'm just sitting here thinking, if you're 6 years older than Faithy and me, because we're basically the same age, you were probably already in your career. Like you were
I was married
school, right?
and teaching school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You were not into the swatches.
My students probably were.
I was about to say that. We were so into them. Did y'all have the ones that, do you remember they would smell? The bands, like there was
Scratch
the
and sniff. I don't remember
bands
that.
were scented. Like I had a pink one that was strawberry.
Yeah, vaguely remember the berry smell.
Now that you say it, I kind of think about that.
Gosh, they were so cool.
Kids these days, they would be so creeped out about this conversation.
They have the same things. They're just different.
They're just different. I think they probably would get into Swatch watches. Maybe they'll make a comeback.
Maybe
they're still around. They're still around.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes me think of those Benetton stores with all the bright color. Actually, I think their ad was something like United Colors of Benetton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Benetton was so cool. Like it
was cool.
So cool. We had one in the mall here in Hattiesburg. When we got that Benetton store, I was like, oh my gosh, we
had arrived. Yes.
We had arrived. And I remember a couple things. One, they had the best perfume. It was in this tall bottle and it had Benetton on it on every side in different colors. And it smelled so good. It was so cool. And that Christmas, I don't know if it was this Christmas, but it was around this time. I got my friends, my little friend group, each one of them a little Benetton like carry satchel thing for Christmas.
They thought you were great.
1,000%. Coolest thing ever. They loved it.
Our perfume inventory doubled as well. We had Ralph Lauren, and we had Benetton. So
that's so funny.
We smelled.
You were covered.
That perfume, I loved it so much.
It was real fresh smelling, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was real clean and fresh smelling. But did anybody have Reeboks?
Oh,
yeah. I don't think I had those. Are you talking about the ones like with the
high tops with the Velcro?
I know they were cool.
Yeah.
I think I was uncool and didn't have them. Did you?
Yeah, I never.
A pair, but I'll tell you from the depths of my soul and my heart, I was so envious of my sister's Nikes.
Oh,
yeah. Do you remember, Torri? The white ones with the red swoosh?
Yes.
Blue and white sole. They were like Cortez style or something like that. That's the style of shoe it was. Had the little felt toe.
I did. I loved them.
I loved them. I did wear them when you told me I couldn't.
When I wasn't looking, you wore them?
I did.
Oh, my gosh.
The secrets that are coming out.
Yep.
Faithy, why didn't you ask for some?
You know you could have had a pair if you wanted it. You were spoiled.
Who knows? I don't know why I didn't ask.
Sybil and Huey, they would have gotten them for you.
I was too busy asking for Swatch watches, like beautiful jewelry.
You know what? This all makes me think of talking about Benetton and all that. Do y'all remember those stores? I think they were called like units.
Yes.
You would wear like the one. I bet you called in those, Torri. Like you would have the one color, and then they would just have the bands that you would kind of pull up as a belt.
Oh yeah.
That made me think
wore those
of
to
that.
teach in almost every day. It was like a uniform.
Yes.
Yep.
They were.
My math teacher wore them. She was our cheerleading coach and math teacher every single day.
It would have been a great thing for a teacher, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
With kids, yes.
You know what it kind of reminds me of today? Free People.
Uh-huh.
You seen the Free People one piece things? Sophie wears those all the time.
Yeah, it is kind of like
Sophie's so cool.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of those because I'm not cool anymore.
She's a lot cooler than I am.
Yes, she's a lot cooler than all of us, I'm afraid to say.
Yes, I agree.
Well, girls, anytime we talk about a movie that was released near Christmas, like this one was, we like to talk about Christmas lists, which you brought up, Faith, with the Swatch watch, which I'm sure was on the list as well. And in 1987, we brought this up before, that the Nintendo Entertainment System was really big that year. For me at my age, that was huge. That was right there with the Swatch watches. That was right there with the Benetton perfume, also the Liz Claiborne perfume, the triangle.
Love that.
But Nintendo was primo.
Definitely Torri probably was
Torri
not
was
into
not.
Nintendo.
Missy, I know you weren't. So Faith, you
Faithy?
probably weren't
No.
either. Yeah,
I
y'all were too
really
old.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Y'all
I
were
didn't
too
get into that.
old.
I really wasn't. I missed that. When I was my recollection when I was your age with your Nintendo season, it was me with the Atari. And we
Yeah.
had like a little tabletop
Mhm.
tennis. It would
Pong.
go beep,
Yep.
beep.
Yeah.
Do you remember that,
Yeah, I
Torri?
do. The Pong. It was like the
Yes,
Pong.
was it called Pong?
It was. It was
Okay,
called
yeah.
Pong. And I remember when we got one and our daddy was so excited to get it. And, I played it in the moment, but it's not like I came home after school and was like, oh, I got to play some Pong. Like, I just was never into that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Me
Yeah.
neither. I've
I
never been a
didn't play
gamer.
it much, but
Me
we did
either.
have it on our big console television.
Yeah. I think Dad enjoyed it more than we did.
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
so too.
Okay.
Okay.
Then what about music?
Oh,
I'm
the
thinking
music
the
of that
number
time
one
was so
song.
good.
This isn't going to be cool right here. The number one song, and actually all of December of 1987, was Faith by George
Oh,
Michael.
gotta have faith,
Have
faith,
The faith, the faith.
I
I
gotta have
have
faith,
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 faith.
faith. And you know what, Faith?
But
We do have to have you. You are a light in this world, and we got to have you. Our lives are all better because you're in it.
you're gonna make me tear up.
Oh,
Stop.
for sure.
Oh, thank you. That is so kind.
But that is an
And
awesome song.
It
for you.
is.
it is an awesome song. And can I tell you two things?
Yeah.
Sure.
Two things. Okay, so the first thing is I think it was probably in 93 or so. I went to San Francisco and we went to the Hard Rock Cafe, and I didn't even like recognize this until I sat down at our table, but I looked up and George Michael's boots that he wore in the video of Faith were right above me. And I have a
Oh,
picture of
wow.
it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so cool.
so that was a really cool memory. But one of the funniest things about this song to me was one year at teacher appreciation, because I was a teacher for the very longest time.
We're all teachers, actually. All four of us. Teachers. So cool. Yeah.
Changing the world. So one teacher appreciation week, I mean, this little guy that his mother, Morgan has already graduated from LSU Dental School. He's a dentist now and he's just precious. But his mother rewrote the words to Faith and came to my classroom dressed like George Michael with a guitar and sang it in front of my kids. And if you could meet her, she is the most introverted, quiet, unassuming human, but she has a love for music. And when
Do I know this? Do I know this parent, or was it after me?
Lisa Bannister.
Oh, yes. Okay, I
You
do.
remember Lisa Bannister?
Of course, I do.
Precious, and she loves music.
She
so
does
when
love
came
music.
and had rewritten the words and the lyrics to that song. It was the cutest thing. So every time I hear that song, I think of Lisa.
I love Lisa Bannister. She loves like hard rock.
Oh, she's
She loves her some heavy metal
yeah.
girl.
Guns N' Roses. She's
and
all
if
about
you
it.
saw her, she looks like she'd love Julie Andrews.
Yes, like you.
Don't judge a book.
That's right.
She is.
Well, I just wanted to add too, with Torri, you saying that about George Michael, So I guess I believe it was in 84. He had another Christmas hit that it's still today we hear every Christmas. Last Christmas, I gave you my heart. But it was Wham.
The very
I guess it wasn't.
next day. Yes,
Yep.
that's a good remember, Amanda.
I love that song.
Well, how can you forget? I mean, it's, it's still with us today.
It is.
But also thinking about music, another top of the chart song was by our dear friend
Donnie?
Yes, our buddy Donnie
Oh.
Markowitz. Yes, Donnie's song "I've Had the Time of My Life" was still at the top of the charts because "Dirty Dancing" had come out in August of the same year, and that, I mean, as we know, that soundtrack and that song stayed at the
So
top
good.
for a
Yes.
while.
Shout out to our friend Donnie. If you
Whoop,
didn't
whoop.
listen to the Dirty Dancing,
It's raining here.
okay. Well, it's the earth shaking of how great Donnie is. He was a co-writer on the song "I've Had the Time of My Life," and he is on our Dirty Dancing podcast. And so it is worth a listen if you haven't listened to the Dirty Dancing podcast. It's a good one.
Yes.
I did listen to that. It was good. It was
He's
really good. It's so
amazing.
cool how you have different people as guests. It makes it real. And
Look, we
just
got an
thinking-
Oscar winner and the Richmond sisters here. There you go. There you go.
Absolutely. Okay, did y'all love People magazine back
Yes.
Yes, and we always talk
yes.
about it. Do you have some
Okay.
People magazine intel?
I do. I
Okay.
do. Okay, so let me give you a hint. So it's a power couple, so to speak.
Okay.
I loved her dress that she wore in the video of reminiscent of Marilyn Monroe. He was a super jealous guy, super jealous of her, and actually spent 32 days in jail for hitting an extra on a movie.
I know who the video is Material Girl.
Yeah. So who was she married to? Who was the artist? Of course, Madonna. Who was she married to that was kind of like bad boy, volatile? Well, she's not a good girl.
Sean Penn.
Yes.
Oh, they were on
cover.
People?
They were on the cover of People. Tumultuous relationship. She just served him divorce papers.
They were
Then she
always
took
in the
them back.
news.
Then she took them back.
Oh, I didn't
She
realize
filed
that.
for divorce in 87. And then she said, no, you can come back. And then in 89, they got divorced, I think.
Okay. Oh.
So,
Well, are y'all big fast food eaters?
Not now, but I
Not
was
so
then.
much.
Yeah.
Definitely would have been then. Why? What have you
Yeah.
got for us?
Well, I think it was about this time that fast food restaurants were beginning to think outside the box. So, do y'all remember McDonald's introducing the Mac Pizza?
yes, I do remember it, but I never tasted it. Did y'all?
Me either.
no.
No,
No,
but
I
that's
never-
gross, and it reminds me of the McRib.
Oh,
which
I
is
can't.
Another
Yes,
time
also.
where they thought out of the box. That grosses me out too, Amanda.
I can't do it.
Oh,
Torri,
ugh.
I don't even believe you're talking about Mac ribs and Mac
I know.
pizzas because
I know.
you are a vegetarian.
I can't. I just can't think about it.
But were you at the time, Torri?
No.
So, I mean, I definitely would eat a little McDonald's cheeseburger, no onions, ketchup only. But no, when they started trying to do all that weird stuff, I was out of there.
It was just
Just
kind of
stick
too
to
much.
Weird.
the fries, the
That's
Diet Coke, and the burger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The fries are good
absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
But Pizza Hut started rolling out delivery services.
Woo woo! Talk
during
about a
that
life
time.
changer.
That was good.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm a fan of grocery delivery. I mean,
Me too. Any kind of delivery, sign me up.
me too. I'll gladly pay the, whatever yearly fee for free delivery.
Me too.
That's nice.
All right, so let me ask y'all this though, because Faith, you're talking about that was the time that Pizza Hut rolled out delivery service. It wasn't something that had been done, but where we lived out in the boondocks, they weren't delivering out into the heart of Oak Grove. Could y'all get deliveries there in Vidalia, Louisiana?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I guess probably it was small. It was a small town, but there was a small little Pizza Hut.
If you had a Pizza Hut, they would have delivered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yes,
we
had a
didn't
Pizza
have
Hut.
one out in Oak Grove.
Right.
Mm.
So
We
no.
loved our Pizza Hut. Every Sunday after evening church, nighttime services, all the youth would go to the Pizza Hut.
yeah.
And, we'd just eat and have fun. And just thinking back to that, I know exactly how that smells.
I do too.
Oh, me too.
I do too. I
And
was
do y'all,
thinking about that.
do y'all remember like going there and they had the salad bar? And
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the Pizza Hut salad bar. They
Me
had
too.
pineapples on there. I
They had
loved to put
everything.
those. And they had those big fat red cherry peppers.
Yes.
And I would, my friend Dana and I would go there. We loved those things. We'd get them we'd put 6 on our plate and we'd bite those big cherry peppers. Oh, they were so good.
They were good. I
They had the
enjoyed it.
red and white checked tablecloth.
Oh,
Yes.
And we loved to go and play Pac-Man while we waited for
I
our
was
pizza.
about to say Pac-Man.
So would you play
Yes,
Pac-Man,
yes.
Tori?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Can't
My
you just hear that
sister-
noise?
My sister is a sucker for a game.
Well, only Pac-Man and that claw thing. I can win all kinds of things on the claw thing. That claw game, oh man, I can do it.
She wins every time.
That's
It's
crazy.
She's got
It really
skills.
is.
She's
I'm
got
telling
skills.
Every time.
I'm telling you.
Every
That's
time.
impressive.
And by the way, speaking of Pizza Hut and the red tablecloths and the red plastic tumbler, I think they were the first ones to have Sonic Ice.
Ooh, I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
They
I
should
still
kick it off
love a
with that.
good thin pepperoni pizza from Pizza Hut.
Me
Okay.
too.
Still do.
That's what we
Still
get.
love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. One other thing I remember about that year was the big push for saying no to drugs. Remember the
Mhm.
commercial with the skillet full of
Ah.
hot oil?
With the
And
fried
guy would
egg.
say, yeah, the guy would hold up an egg and say, "This is your brain." And then he would show the skillet, "This is drugs." And then he would crack the egg, "This is your brain on drugs."
Yes.
And
Oh
then he
my
would
gosh,
go,
I do remember that.
and then he would say, "Any questions?"
That's right.
It's seared into my memory.
Yeah.
Like
Literally.
literally that when I would think about being on drugs, I would think about the fried egg.
I know.
Yeah, well,
And I
better not do that.
I wonder if how we would see someone and they would be like all just so messed up. And we would say something like, their brain is fried. Okay, did that come after that commercial or did maybe that inspire that commercial?
Which came
No.
first, the chicken or the egg?
I know. Like, haven't you ever said they're
Yes.
They're fried.
Yes, that is such a great point. Okay, we're going to have to try to research that and figure that out.
I'm going to find out.
And it's so funny, Amanda, because you said you thought about it a lot. Like for us, we were all older. We had already made the decision we weren't going to be drug heads.
right?
Nancy Reagan had come out about, earlier in the 80s about just say no. So do you you really thought about this, Amanda, growing up?
Yes. And y'all, okay, because we're all teachers, but when I was in elementary school, they had the Just Say No to Drugs week and all that. And people would come talk to you, Red Ribbon Week, they come talk to you and tell you all this stuff. And every time I would go home because our parents smoked at that time. And I remember, oh my gosh, Mom got so mad at me. I got a carton of cigarettes. I found one of their cartons of cigarettes. I guess it was hers. I don't know. And I hid the cigarettes because I was like, these are drugs. You've got to stop. You've got to stop doing the drugs.
Okay.
And she got so mad. She was like, Amanda Lynn, you tell me where that box is.
Amanda, do you know my similar story? I was in
No.
3rd grade and a motivational speaker came to Oak Grove and he was up on the stage and he told us to go home and get a dollar bill if our parents smoked and to set the dollar bill on fire and to tell your parents that every time they smoked, they were burning a dollar bill. I went home all excited to be the motivational speaker to Mom and Dad. And I grabbed a dollar bill and I got a lighter. And my mom said to me, Missy Lynn, if you light and burn that dollar, I'm going to burn your butt, sister. And I remember that so vividly. That is so funny. They don't smoke. They stopped smoking. So shout out.
Well, Daddy didn't. But anyway, was the analogy supposed to be like you're burning money?
You're wasting money. Yes,
Yeah.
you're wasting money.
Yeah.
No, she's like, the day you go out, right. But she's like, the day you go without because I smoke the cigarette is the day I'll stop. But you don't go without, little miss. Yes, ma'am.
Well, you know what? If she couldn't find the box, Amanda, she could just run down the road to Pizza Hut and get them from the vending machine.
The machine! Yes.
Oh,
they had like every one of them. And I used to love to stand there and look at those different.
I bet you did.
I did. I've never smoked a cigarette before, though.
Well, you bet your bottom dollar I went and got the carton out of the cabinet and was like, here, sorry, my bad.
That is so funny. Well, y'all, let's talk about this week's movie. It was written by Leslie Dixon and directed by Gary Marshall. Now, these actually are two giants in the industry, and her name might not be as familiar as Gary Marshall's, but she has a long list of huge movies she's written. Like she wrote Overboard. She wrote that movie Outrageous Fortune. She wrote The Thomas Crown Affair and Pay It Forward. And I mean, she wrote a lot of movies, even though we don't know her. She's done a lot
by name. Yeah. And of course, the late, great Gary Marshall is a Hollywood legend with hits like Pretty Woman and Beaches under his belt. Overboard was one of his first big movies, but he had already done a lot of TV in the 70s and 80s before this came out.
The movie has a runtime of 1 hour and 52 minutes, and it's rated PG. It was nominated for 3 awards, but none of the real big ones. But it didn't receive any wins. That's sort of surprising for me. I loved it.
Because you're such a fan.
I am.
Yeah, she's a Goldie fan.
Great.
Absolutely. Well, it has some fascinating facts. And Goldie Hawn, of course, who has played the main character, Joanna Staten, she cracks me up. One of the most hilariously spoiled characters in film history. One of her quotes that I love, she says, "Are you going to come squeeze my lemon, or do I have to squeeze it from my hat?" Do you remember that?
Yeah,
yes.
I do.
She had so many great lines in it.
You know, it's as big as her yacht.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, did you know she had a real life fear of water?
No.
And it was very hard for her to be on that yacht.
No.
Obviously she's a super wonderful actress and accomplished, mindset, overcomer, because she did a great job.
She did.
It never shown during the movie, but she was very nervous on that yacht.
That's so interesting. Well, speaking of that yacht, Faithy, that infamous closet scene, which I know we'll talk about, but she literally berates Kurt Russell's character Dean for building her a closet below her expectations. That scene, y'all, was actually inspired by a real-life argument that Gary Marshall overheard between a couple while he was on a boat.
Oh, wow.
So he worked that into it. Have any of you ever overheard a couple having an argument and like you're in that awkward place of like, what do you do? What do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Would an awkward place be having your ear up to a glass by a wall?
That would be intentional, Faith Gremillion.
Okay, well then I don't know anything about that.
Oh gosh. Well, can we take a minute and talk about this couple, Goldie Hawn and
so
Kurt
precious.
Russell? While they were already a couple off screen, This movie marked their first on-screen pairing as romantic leads, and it's no wonder their dynamic felt so genuine because they were in love. So here's a little rundown of their relationship for
Okay,
y'all.
give us the rundown.
They met in 1966 on the set of a movie I've never heard of, probably because I'm too young.
We're all too young, sister.
The one and only genuine original family band.
I'm
Anybody?
looking that up.
You're going to look it up?
Yeah, I've
Check
never
it out.
seen that.
And then after that meeting, they reconnected in 1983 on the set of Swing Shift. And then in 1984, they started dating.
Oh, well, I read that the reason Goldie Hawn agreed to actually date him was because he was so great with her kids.
Oh.
Kate and Oliver. And then in 1986, Goldie and Kurt welcomed their own son, Wyatt Russell.
That's so cool.
And I can relate to this because, you know, when Trey and I started dating, I had Kyle and he was 7 years old. And he, you know, I just could not marry Trey until I knew that he was going to be good to Kyle. And so it took 7 years of dating before I actually agreed to marry him.
Yeah, and it probably made you love him all that much more by the way he loved Kyle.
It did. And I mean, he proved himself over and over.
Yeah.
You know, so
and Faithy, probably you and Joe with Richmond as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Amanda, you too.
Yes, definitely. Eric just swooped in and same thing. He just was good as gold to my girls. And so for sure, I get that.
Well, I can't say me too there, but I do think that my mom loved our daddy because he loved me so big, you know, whenever they were dating. So that's good. I'll tell you what, Kurt Russell, I just think of him as being a great guy. I mean, all the way back to when he was in the movies for all those Disney movies. He's I just have always thought he's great.
Absolutely, Missy. He is, to me, just like the all-American guy.
Yes,
Smile,
I agree.
Hair,
I agree.
Demeanor. I think he is just adorable too. And in 1987 is when they filmed Overboard together. But their son that Torri was talking about, that was maybe a year old, he took his first steps on the set of Overboard.
Well, fun. Their first movie, and he took his first steps.
No.
That's so cute.
That's so cool. And the great thing is they're still together today. And I think they get a lot of kind of riff about not having ever married.
Yes.
But what do we call that in the South when somebody is kind of married, but they're not? What is that called?
Common law.
Common law. Yeah, that's right.
They're common law spouses for sure.
It's not just what we call it. That's a real thing, like legally recognized.
Yeah. Okay,
in some
so
states.
Here's a fun fact. The 4 boys who played Dean's kids, they weren't professional actors. They were actually cast locally, and they're just natural chemistry. It just added to the film's charm. Plus, the scene, y'all remember the scene where they pranked Joanna by putting glue in her hand?
Yes.
Y'all, that was completely unscripted. The boys came up with it on the spot, and it said that Gary Marshall loved it so much that he kept it in the movie.
That's funny.
That's cute.
Okay, well, here's another fascinating fact. Reese Witherspoon,
Love her.
another leading lady we love, was about 10 years old, I believe, when this movie came out, and has been quoted as saying that this movie is one of her favorites.
Well, Torri, you are in good company with Reese
Yes, I am.
Witherspoon.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I have to say, Torri, if someone asked me who I'd like to have dinner with, Reese Witherspoon would be up there. She would be a contender to have dinner with me.
Yeah.
While we're here, Amanda and Faithy, who would you have dinner with?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, we've got to
Amanda, go
ask.
first.
Faith Hill.
Oh, because I think I would probably change mine to Carrie Underwood.
Really?
But I do
Did
love
she
Reese
not?
Witherspoon.
She's wonderful.
She is great.
She is wonderful. Okay. Hester Jane will probably say you stole my thunder, but maybe Dolly Parton. I love her.
Yeah, I love her too. I love her too. Didn't Hester Jane do great on that on the 9 to 5 podcast? She knew every fact there was. She was great.
She was amazing.
All right. Well, that was a fun tidbit, Amanda, about Reese Witherspoon. Okay, real fans, it's time to climb aboard, set sail, and see how the story unfolds.
All right, the film kicks off with Dean Prophet, a muscular carpenter with a mullet.
Yeah.
Arriving at the Elk Cove Marina in his unmistakable green truck. And this is the same one we talked about from Christmas Vacation.
Yep. He's
been called to the Staten yacht for what he believes is an emergency repair.
Yes, but instead, he meets Joanna Staten, who has no emergency at all. She has called him in to remodel her closet, complete with shoe racks.
It's an emergency to her.
It is. Joanna's rude and dismissive demeanor only worsens the situation. She treats Dean like a servant, snapping orders and belittling his work ethic.
She does.
You can tell right away this isn't going to end well. During one break, she even walks in wearing nothing but a thong to retrieve something from a drawer, completely ignoring his presence. But
it's like he's not even there, Torri.
But she did that on purpose.
Yes, she did.
And she looked fabulous.
Yes, she did.
It was actually a little racy.
It was a
little
racy. What? I thought so too.
Yes. And so Dean, meanwhile, notices a strawberry-shaped birthmark on her left buttock, a detail that will come back later.
Yes, it will.
Okay, so her husband, when Dean Prophet walked up and said, "I'm here to inquire about a remodel," and that little sissy husband had his little shined up rifle or skeet gun, whatever. He said, "That's not my business. That's my wife's business," or whatever. And turned around and walked off. Oh, my Lord. That was so terrible. It was terrible. But anyway, her husband, didn't pay any attention to her at all. And he was completely self-absorbed with so many hobbies that she was actually funding. And anyway, it was just probably a marriage on convenience more on his part than hers. Definitely.
Yes, definitely. Well, Dean finishes the closet with an impressive twist. He makes this really cool hidden shoe rack mechanism that I'm like, oh, that is awesome. I would love that.
Did y'all not think that was cool when you first
it looked like something.
I was like, I want one of those.
Yeah. It looked like you would see like in a Kardashian closet.
Yes.
But Joanna isn't impressed.
Not impressed.
And you know why? Because it's not made of cedar. Everybody should have closets. All closets should be made out of cedar.
Which kind of is, everybody knows, like cedar closet, but still, I'm on Dean's side. But look, she outright refuses to pay him. She tells him that his work is subpar. And y'all, the way she talks down to everybody, it cracks me up. I think she's standing there. I think it's this time where the butler walks in with caviar and she says some kind of it should be
burst in your mouth.
Burst in your mouth. And it's kind of like innuendo as she's telling all that. But it's so funny the way she just talks down to everybody. But she's furious. She tells Dean off. And much to the delight of the yacht crew, as he's leaving, he tells her off. And you can tell the crew is glad because they've been putting up with her antics for far too long. Yes, they're he's like, you're not just going to tell me off. I'm going to tell you off too. And so it's good.
You've got to make up things to fuss about, or he didn't use the word fuss, but.
Yes.
You're so bored.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Faith.
In the next scene, we see Joanna venting to her mother on the phone. And her mother is played by the fabulous Katherine Helmond, an actress from Soap.
I love this woman. Yeah. She is a great actress.
She's awesome. And she's just as obnoxious and touch with reality as Joanna, showing where, this shows how Joanna is what she is because she's just like her mom.
Yeah, her mom may be even more over the top than she is.
Yeah.
But I was going to tell y'all because you both were like, oh my gosh, we love her so much. She was also Mona on Who's the Boss?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was Mona? Who's the boss? What was her role?
Her mom, Joanna's mom.
No, I mean on Who's the Boss. Who was she?
So she was Judith Light's mom, the grandma with the red hair. Mona.
Watch that so much.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I loved that. I loved
You would
Who's
know
the Boss.
Mona if you were a big watcher of Who's the Boss. Like she was a big deal. Like she was she was kind of like a Blanche character from Golden Girls. She was a little bit like a Blanche.
Okay. I just remember her sitting in the scene on Overboard, and she's decked out in her frou-frou black, I guess, night dress, and she's petting, a little dog that looks like Nola, and with pearls and everything.
Yes.
So, she did play her part very well as a super, super haughty mama. But so Dean goes back home to find chaos. And his kids have toilet papered the school principal, and now she's being attacked by their dogs.
Yes.
No more home visits for school teachers. But she came to welcome the family to town, but ends up really getting under Dean's skin because, he is a single dad. He's working as much as he can work. He's got these, these kids that are out of control. I mean, a lot is to be said for a mother figure in the house for sure. And so anyway, after their conversation, she realizes that he is a widower.
Yes.
And doing the best he can, but he realizes there's something missing. And so those boys are just everywhere. The house is a mess. And he's just struggling right now to raise them and to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't, but the boy, you wouldn't know it from the boy's perspective. Like he's, he's just like, they think everything's fine, which is great. But back on the yacht, Joanna and Grant are lounging in bed. They've gotten ready to go to bed for the night, and they're watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, of course.
I love that show. I loved it when it was in its heyday.
Yep. And Joanna realizes that she left her wedding ring on the deck, and she asks him to go get it, but he was like, no. And so
I'm watching my show.
Yeah, I'm watching, but don't want to miss Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. So she heads up to get it.
Yeah, and of course she's in her high-heeled house shoes and her silver lame robe. And of course, that's when she falls overboard.
Yeah, I have to just say this one thing, Missy, as you're describing what she looked like, it's such a vision of 80s. Like it makes me think of Dynasty and Dallas and like Joan Collins and in Dynasty being like over the top with her lame robe and heels and fanciness. So funny.
All right, so cut to the next morning, and the local news station KRAB is reporting on a garbage barge that has pulled a woman out of the water. Can you imagine? A garbage barge has pulled you out of the ocean. She has no memory of who she is, and the garbage man who found her is played by the amazing Hector
Elizondo. It's Elizondo. Yes, I recognize him, Torri.
Okay, I did not. I'll have to look that up.
And he's so good. He's the guy from Pretty Woman.
Oh, yes.
The hotelier.
Yes.
Well, anyway, he was actually a best friend of Gary Marshall's and appeared in 18 of his films.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. That's so cool to know.
Unaccredited, but memorable.
Yes.
I loved him in Pretty Woman.
Uh-huh.
I loved him.
He
had such a sweet way with her after, a few visits at the desk. But so Grant, he wakes up, he realizes that his wife is not in bed, and then he sees her picture on the television. And what
the horrible
God, I think it would be playing later looking at that photo. But so he heads to the hospital, and he walks to a two-way window, so she can't see him. And that is made very clear because he said, can she see me? Or it was somehow in the conversation, and the police officer said, no, she can't see you. And then the light bulb goes off like, hey, I can continue the way I'm living, and she has no clue who she is. So anyway, he declares that he doesn't recognize her, and then out the door he goes, toasting champagne, having house parties on the yacht. And anyway, that was pretty slimy of him.
Yes.
It was
He's
slimy.
slimy's a good word for him.
Yeah. And I'll get the picture of her when she's found by the garbage barge, her mugshot. I'll get that posted on socials because it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah. And so when he goes back to the yacht, he tells the crew that Mrs. Staten, was leaving him. To kind of satisfy their wonderings of where she was. Now, Dean, while on a job, catches the news and puts two and two together. When he sees Grant abandoning Joanna, he hatches a plan to go claim her as his wife until she's, quote unquote, worked off the money she owes him for the closet he made.
It's ludicrous.
So he goes to the hospital and convinces the staff that she's his wife by remembering and referencing that strawberry-shaped birthmark, even though she's a little she's like, this can't be. But then when she hears this, she goes and looks and she has the strawberry birthmark. She can't deny. She's like, this must be it. This has got to be it.
Torri told us it was going to be important later.
But Missy, you just said, I have to tell you, you said ludicrous. This is another great example how we love to suspend reality for the movies in the 80s.
It's crazy. But what happens is just like that, Joanna Staten becomes Annie Prophet, Dean's wife. I'm saying that with a country accent, but it really is setting up one of the most hilariously mismatched dynamics in all of cinema. I mean, she knows she doesn't belong there, and things are just going to get wilder from here.
They do. And after Dean takes Joanna home, the chaos begins. She's appalled as she steps into her new life, a shack surrounded by trash, old cars, and a yard that looks like a junkyard exploded. The house itself, an absolute pigsty.
Oh, y'all, it was horrible looking.
It was horrible.
Yeah. It looked like an episode of Hoarders.
It was so bad. Yes,
it was bad.
And when she looks around and she says, and exactly what do I normally do here?
I don't belong here. I don't
belong here. Can't you see? Oh, gosh. He's showing her around, introducing her to all four children, Charlie, Greg, the twins, Travis, and the big guy, which is little Joey, who thinks he is Pee Wee Herman. And that was not scripted either.
Oh, really?
Oh,
when he said,
knowing more trivia.
When he said hello or hi, Mom, and in his Pee Wee Herman voice.
Yeah.
That was not scripted.
Can't you act it out for us?
Pee Wee Herman.
Come on, do it for us. How did he sound, Faithy?
I cannot do it. I cannot do it. But anyway, so she's horrified and she's like, they're not mine. And she loses it. She's out. She faints. She's done.
She can't handle it.
Process in one day. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast when they say she's lost her father and her life all in one day. I mean, can you imagine how Joanna feels? She's lost her riches, her mind, her husband, everything.
Yes.
Yep. And gained this whole new family. Well, when she comes to, she's getting changed into the clothes that the boys picked out for her from the Salvation Army, by the way. They went thrifting for her. And yes, the boys are in on this little act that their dad has set up.
And don't you know, right from the moment you know the kids are in on it, there's going to be some heartbreak. Like I'm already
Yes.
worried about their little hearts. But anyway, she comes out and she's wearing just the hilariously oversized dress, and Dean seizes the opportunity. And if y'all remember, he did this a lot throughout the movie, getting little jabs at her because she was so ugly to him. And he says, "Oh yeah, you lost so much weight. You used to be short and fat," telling her that she had leaned over with a
Yes, a hunch.
hunch
Yeah.
all the time, and now she's so much better. She's lost weight.
All right. Well, he wastes no time getting his money out of her, telling her that the doctors recommended getting back into her routine to jog her memory. He gives her a daily to-do list with chores like cooking, cleaning, taking care of the boys, and even chopping wood. Now, you have to remember, she's never done any physical work whatsoever in her
No.
own.
No,
She
being
doesn't
happy.
know how to do any of these things.
Yes.
What is it that I normally do here? So chaos is everywhere. She's trying to get the boys off to school, and the way she's making their sandwiches, she's just slapping. And she doesn't even know how to do that.
No.
It's just, bless her heart. But you know what? I feel like you just do what you have to do and survive, and that's what she did.
She was in survival mode. You're
She was
right,
in
Faithy.
survival. But it was a big disaster. And then one of them said, I think it was the very last one, he says, "Thanks, Mom. You're doing a great job."
I know. Oh.
That's all he wanted was a little mama, helping and loving on him
Yes.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And she was kind of taken by surprise, I think.
Yeah, she was. She was
It
taken by
did.
surprise.
It kind of reminds me that survival mode. I think you feel that way a little bit when you have your first baby. You're just like you thought you knew how to take care of a baby, and then you're like, wait a minute, and you get a little bit in survival mode. That's what it reminded me of. Dean realizing she's questioning if she really belongs there because she just feels real out of place. Takes it's awful. He takes the envelope of pictures from the hospital.
Because it wasn't just the one they showed on TV. Apparently, they took a lot of pictures of her.
Right. They've got pictures of her, but they're all awful. And has his friend Billy create staged photos like with her face over maybe his wedding pictures and like his photos with his wife. And they're all her face. It's awful. She's like, looks so traumatized. And so Dean shows her the photos to prove, because she's like, why are there no photos of me in this house? So he's like, well, here you go, sweetheart. And this is convincing her that this chaotic life is really hers. And she reluctantly accepts it. And she even asks him in this part, like, why do I look so sad? Or why does my face look like this in all of the pictures? Like, she's just like, this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
But she does eventually say, well, I guess this is it.
It's like she accepts it. The proof's in the pudding, or the proof's in the picture. But something that interesting happens here, and it's kind of like one of the things that Torri shared earlier, like this will be important later, because when he's getting ready to take the pictures to Billy, which by the way is Billy's in the trailer, and there's the sign up on the trailer that says, if this trailer's rocking, don't come and knock it. He knocks anyway. He's getting the envelope of pictures, and her panties are in them, and they're fancy panties, and they have the initials JS on them. And so as he's taking the pictures into Billy's rocking trailer, he puts the panties in the glove compartment. So hold that thought, because it will be important later.
All right. Meanwhile, Grant is living it up on the yacht. He's avoiding calls from Joanna's mother, throwing one party after another. He's got all these girls in bikinis dancing around him, and he's completely uninterested in her fate. Just blocked her out.
He did. He just wrote her off, and he is just spending her money. So back at the shack, Dean invites Billy over for dinner. And Dean piles on the teasing. When Joanna goes to serve dessert, the chocolate cream pie, the boys prank her by gluing her hands to the plate.
That was hysterical.
And she retreats to the kitchen, but she has a little chaos of her own under her little apron, and she starts spraying them all with a garden hose. And it's the first time that you can see like genuine fun in the movie
Yes.
with that group. You know, I mean, of course, I would have hated to clean that up, but it would be a memory marker for those kids.
Yes.
And for them too, you know, and I'm sure they had a lot of banter themselves, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, back and forth about how they are in their own relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was a real sweet time. So
And
they all
they're all like laughing, and then they fall in the grass laughing, and it's a hoot.
right. Love that part.
Well, this next part that I'm going to talk about, I absolutely loved.
Too.
It was quite moving. At school, both parents are called when the boys can't seem to sit still enough to take their placement test, because remember, they're new to the school. And so Annie arrives first, and she thinks that they're just, at first, you know, she just thinks, oh yeah, they're acting out. And she's talking with the principal, and the principal accuses the boys of faking their illness, of not being able to sit still and itchy. And so Joanna goes over and notices their rashes. They have rashes all over them. And she quickly shuts the principal down and defends them. And she stands up for her kids, and you know, makes the principal realize they have poison oak or poison ivy or whatever. And Dean overhears this because he came late, like after she had already gone in. And so he was just standing outside the room listening, and he overhears her taken up for his boys. And he's visibly moved by that.
Yeah. And we're starting to see everything evolve, aren't we? Faith, you were like, it was their first time to genuinely have fun. And now she's taken up for her boys. And that night we see an even softer side of her, because she's applying calamine lotion to the boys, and she's deeply concerned when she realizes that Joey can't read. Do y'all remember putting on calamine lotion growing up?
Yes.
Like
For sure.
mosquito bites, you'd put that
Yes,
calamine
yes.
lotion all over you.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I do
remember I
remember
had
this
poison
now.
ivy in my eyes one time, in my eyeballs. Do you remember that, Torri?
I don't. I must have
Yeah.
blocked that one out.
Got shots. It was terrible.
Okay, well, so now, you know, think back to the house, how we described it at the beginning. It was horrible. Well, the house is looking better. The kitchen's clean,
Yeah.
the fridge is organized. I mean, I remember the scene where he opens the refrigerator to get a beer, and everything is just like perfectly aligned. Everything's neat.
Yes.
And she even has fresh flowers in the house. Dean notices all this, and you can tell that he kind of feels a little guilty for not telling her the truth.
Mhm. Yeah. The family picnic when Billy was there, and you know, Dean has this dream of this miniature golf course, you know,
Yes.
and
Putt-putt.
it's true to the fact that, you know, if you're married or you have a boyfriend or significant partner, whatever, and they have a dream, it's so important for that other part of that duo to really support you. And she was
Mhm.
like, yeah, do it. She was all about it, you know, just building him up. And so Dean and Billy are brainstorming all these ideas because they're going to meet with these investors next week. But for this mini putt-putt golf thing, but mini putt-putt was a thing.
It was a thing back
When I
then.
was
You're
young.
right. Yes.
Absolutely.
When we would go on vacation, you know, we would play mini putt-putt. And Torri, where did we play putt-putt? Do you
I
remember?
don't know, but I didn't like it.
I don't necessarily love it either,
I
Torri,
didn't
but it
like
is
it.
it was a
It's a
thing.
It's the
big.
thing.
It was a big.
Any vacation you went on, it was like, where's the putt-putt or
Gotta go
goofy
putt-putt.
golf? We would call it goofy golf.
Yeah,
when it
goofy
was,
golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I loved it. I was kind
well,
of
we in New Orleans still have putt-putt at City Park, City Putt. And so
Fun.
that's a fun thing the kids like to do. Yeah. Well, Faith, you were talking about the meeting they were going to have with these investors and how supportive Annie was, and Annie, we'll say. And she is so supportive, and she surprises everyone by suggesting that they make the theme of the putt-putt revolve around the wonders of the world. And she even starts speaking French, kind of like out of
That was
nowhere,
hysterical.
leaving herself and everyone else shocked. And Dean casually,
She was like, I speak French.
and he's like, of course, when you were stationed in France with the Navy, you learned French.
Oh,
And
gosh.
so we think it's hysterical, but that's just more of the lie getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
She's like, I was in the Navy.
And short and fat.
Yes. Okay, so as Torri told us, the house is completely transformed. It's clean, it's organized, it's warm. And Annie, at this point, she's fully immersed in the family routine. She's sketching designs for the golf course, and she's doing that while the boys sit around. And one of the boys is like practicing piano, and one's doing the homework. And she's feeling the family. And when the boys look up and they ask her where dad is, she just says bowling. But then she realized he didn't take his bowling ball. So now she's suspicious about where he is. So she goes looking for him.
And that's when she discovers him working an extra job at the fertilizer plant to make ends meet.
God bless him.
I know, that was such a turning point because her expression when she sees him, because she kind of slips in and, just watches him for a minute. And it's such a big moment for her because she sees his dedication to providing for his family. And at this, the point before, she thought, what is his problem? He's going out all the time.
Well, didn't y'all too, though? Like, I thought it too. I was like, jerk, why are you always going out?
I was just like, come on, you're going to leave her with these 4 boys. But the whole time he had an extra job and he was trying to provide for his family.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then it flips over to meeting with the investors and everything goes well. And so they give each other a hug and they're going to go celebrate. And this success weighs really heavy on his heart, and he starts feeling the pressure of the facade, so to speak, and just the chronic lies and cover-ups. So it's really weighing heavy on his shoulders, because he's a good guy. I mean, he's working hard. He just wants the best for himself, for his children, and secretly, I think he's super falling for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably because she has made or helped this family atmosphere become just so incredible. And little Joey's learning to read. And like you said, Missy, earlier, when, they're still practicing piano and involved in all these great activities and just being a sweet family together.
Yes. And little Joey makes her that macaroni necklace, y'all. Oh, I mean, we've all had somebody make us a macaroni necklace before, and it's a treasure. But it's clear in that moment that she is becoming a true mother figure to these boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so Dean comes home that day and says he has to confess. He has something to confess. But Annie assures him that she knows all about that extra job and tells him she's proud of him for shoveling fish guts if it means supporting the family. So
she did kind of say that in a Joanna kind of way.
No. And so overwhelmed, Dean chickens out. And instead, he tells her that he forgot it's her birthday, asking her to get dressed for a surprise.
Yeah, I wish Joe would tell me it's my birthday, maybe 2 times a week, and let's go out to dinner. Oh, but it is a very sweet little day. They go out for dancing, and it was so cute watching them dance.
I love to see
because it was
dance.
Real.
Yes,
you can tell that they danced together.
Yeah,
she was shaking her head and having the best time. It was very, very, very genuine and authentic, and I think that is part of the success of this movie is because they already had that good chemistry.
Natural,
And,
absolutely.
So they go out and then they hear the horn blow 3 times out of the harbor. And that's really cool. And you have night sky and you're on the water, and then you hear this legendary story about two lovers that were separated by fate, and they Arturo and Caterina.
Katerina, yeah.
I knew it started with a C, but so they were separated by fate and planned to reunite when the sound of three horns, but they they didn't quite make it.
They didn't. They tragically drowned, didn't they?
They did.
I believe so, trying to get to each other.
Yes.
And I guess it's that like it was a local legend or something, right? Like almost like folklore.
Yes. And the moment is very romantic here, and it turns into a night they'll never forget.
That's right.
Yep.
Meanwhile, while they're having the night they'll never forget, Joanna's mom has had it. She has been trying for 2 months to talk to her daughter. Would y'all ever wait 2 months? No, you wouldn't.
Would nobody ever wait 2 months to talk to you girls? Because I can tell you, Sybil wouldn't.
No, absolutely not. But she's been calling. Well, Grant keeps putting her off. Every time she calls, he puts her off. But this time she's telling him that if she doesn't hear from her daughter within the week, she's calling the FBI. And so what does Grant do? He looks at all the beautiful girls dancing on the tables and he's like, turn it around. We've got to go back to Elk Cove.
Yeah.
Wait, before you move on from this, Missy, I just have to say something really quick. So back to the romantic night they'll never forget that we were talking about.
Yes.
I remembered it when you started talking. That morning, remember, she wakes up and they bought her a washer and dryer. Like remember the boys are like at the door and it's a little bit inappropriate.
Yes, it is.
It's so awkward.
Look, I was thinking that was his guilt gift. He's like, I know you've been like scrubbing the old fashioned way, the laundry. You're working off your debt to me, but I'm falling in love with you, so I'm gonna get you a washer.
They act like it's her birthday gift. It's really cute. But anyway, sorry, I just had to go back.
I don't want appliances for my gifts.
Yeah.
Okay, so back at the Prophets. It's the grand opening day for the miniature golf course. While grabbing something from the glove compartment, Annie finds that pair of monogrammed panties.
Dun, dun, dun.
And confronts Dean. And he tries to tell her the truth that she's Joanna Staten, not Annie Prophet. Dean admits everything, relieved to finally get it off his chest.
And those boys won't have any part of it.
No, they won't.
They were in it at the beginning with the lies and all that. So they have completely flipped.
Yep.
They're like, no, you are our mom. You are, we're not going along with that. Not at all. And even Billy steps in, taking the responsibility.
Man cracks me up.
That character was supposed to be John Candy.
No, I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But he was too busy doing Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is, by the way, a hilarious movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But so he has fallen in love with her. So
yeah, and he sees what she's doing to that family.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
absolutely. Well, the putt-putt grand opening is a huge success, and Dean credits Annie for making it all possible. He calls her on stage and gives her a big kiss in front of everybody, and it's such a sweet moment.
It is. And so they've had their big day. They get home, and there's a fancy car in the driveway, and Grant steps out. And Annie's in a hurry, like moms are. She's got to get in and probably get dinner on the table because she's in that role now. And so when she sees Grant, she greets him casually like, oh, hi, Grant. And she's walking in, and all of a sudden she realizes what is going on. She realizes she's been tricked. She's devastated. And as she prepares to leave, she goes in. She's like, I'm getting my things. And she goes in and she's like, I have no things.
Aww.
Right? And so she said, nothing here is mine. It's heartbreaking. Y'all, when she goes to say goodbye and she gets in that car, oh my gosh.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, the boys are inconsolable. They're banging on the windows of the car. begging her not to leave. It's gut-wrenching as she covers her ears to block out their cries. But the part where she puts her hand on the window, their little hand.
Torri.
Oh my gosh, it broke my heart.
I know.
I know. It did. That was a very somber part of that movie because you're vested now because she's been doing all these great things. The kids are loving her. She's loving them. Everything's rocking along, and then her memory comes back. It's kind of like inconvenient at the point right now. But so she's back on the yacht. She's all cleaned up, and her spirit and her overall demeanor has changed so much. And she's serving people.
Yeah.
And she apologizes for her, her haughty behavior, and she just asks for forgiveness for being so snooty and snarky and demanding.
Yeah.
And when he says, Andrew, go get my whatever, like when they were talking about that. And she said, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. But she's decided she's going home, and she tells that captain to turn that boat around. And it was neat that she called it home.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it was, Faithy.
Yeah. And I love that when they turn the boat around. Meanwhile, Dean and the boys have decided to go after her as well. They enlist Billy's friends at the Coast Guard to help, and they chase down the yacht. And Joanna hears the 3 horn blasts that he had told her about in the legend, and grabs binoculars and sees her family looking back at her. And she's wearing this like silver gown, and it's like looking across the water at them. And it's so sweet.
Now, when she had gone to the putt-putt opening, she had on her macaroni necklace. So she had it on when she left. So when she sees them, she runs back and she grabs the macaroni necklace. She puts it on and she runs to meet the boys. She's ready. But the Coast Guard has to turn around because they're being called for a real emergency. And so what does Dean do? He yells, Katerina! And she responds, Arturo! And they both jump overboard. And she's in her evening gown, no less.
So funny.
That's my favorite part. I mean, she almost jumps without a life jacket.
Yes, you're right, Torri. You're right.
That's right. That's right.
But anyway, and I had no idea she had a fear of water, of drowning. So imagine the courage.
Yes.
I wonder if she had a double.
I don't know. We'll have to Google that.
Because I don't think I could do it. And I don't have a fear of water.
Yeah.
Well, Torri, that's a good point. I need to find that out and find out, because as I was watching it, I wondered what body of water they were actually in. Because it was a pretty long swim.
Do it.
Yeah, make a note. I'm going to find that out.
But when they're in the water, and then they're swimming toward each other and they meet in the water, they share a kiss and confess their love. As they climb into the rescue dinghy, Dean jokes about how she gave up all this wealth, and Joanna reveals it's all hers. She didn't give up anything. I mean, the yacht, the money, everything is hers. And then he just kind of slips back into the water. Like,
yes.
He's just in shock.
I know. And don't you know? I know that's such a good little
twist.
She fainted when she knew, when they were telling her at the hospital that she lost her mind, and at the house when she fainted, and then now it's his turn to faint.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But you know what, girls? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Faith.
No, not sorry. I go right ahead.
I was just going to say, when you saw this movie for the first time, didn't you think, oh my God, she's going to give up everything?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then when that twist happens, you're like, oh,
yes. It was a great moment. Yes.
And I think I read somewhere that they filmed this in Oregon.
They did. Elk Cove is a real place in Oregon.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyle used to live in Oregon.
Yes,
so
he
yeah.
did.
But then the movie closes and Dean and Joanne are having this really sweet little moment. And he's like, I mean, I can't give you anything. I mean, you have everything. You have everything. And this reminded me so much of my sister.
I know.
Me too.
Because he's, we're tearing up.
We all are tearing up. We're not supposed to tear up in this one.
He said, I can't give you anything that you don't already have. And she said, yes, you can. You can give me a little girl. And so that's the sweetest line in the movie.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. That's my favorite part. That's my
Me
favorite
too.
part.
Because
And
Trey
just-
just a little girl.
I thought about you and Trey and,
Yeah.
you know, and we would name her Sophie.
That's right.
And she's just so precious.
Just to break the tears here, I have to say, I love the part where she's like, what are they doing? When she gets back on when they are all together,
Yeah.
just before the
Yeah.
part you said, Faith. And she's like, what are the boys doing? And he's like, they're making their Christmas list. Because they now know that is all of theirs.
I bet Swatch watches and Benetton perfume.
Yes.
Right.
And Reeboks.
The
That's
cool
right.
thing too that I love about the little twist of that she's not giving up her money, which by the way, we should have known because not Mona, but her mom is the ritzy one.
Right.
But
we
I didn't
should
make
have
that
known.
connection,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway,
Because, hey, there's a social assumption there, right? We assumed it was
Right.
that
Vance.
I just figured they were both rich. But anyway, something that was so sweet about that too was the idea of, because we didn't know and they didn't know she was the one with the money. It was sweet to think, oh my gosh, she's giving all of that up for them.
Yeah.
Like it was a sweet thing to
Yeah,
think about,
it
and
was
probably for his
sweet.
character to be like, oh my gosh, she's giving all this up for me. But then to find out, not really. That's great
Right.
too.
They have it all.
Yeah.
They have it all. So Torri and Faith, we always at the end of the rewind, we always have a quick discussion about how we feel like this movie has stood up over time, meaning, does it still stand the test of time, and thinking about how we thought about the movie then versus how we think about the movie now. Yeah. So what do y'all think? Missy, do you want to go to start us off?
I mean, I would just say I think it stands the test of time. The twists, the turns. Here we are just talking about it, and every one of us teared up. It still makes you laugh. It still makes you cry. It still touches your heart. And so I think it's a universal story. I absolutely think it stands the test of time. Torri,
I
other
do
big
too.
sister?
I definitely think it stands the test of time. And I can attest to that because I got Sophie to watch it and she loved it.
Oh,
And she's
good.
21 years old and
Yeah.
she loved it. So, I mean, she would have turned it off in a flash if it didn't keep her attention.
That's a good test. That's a good way to know. I do that with my
Yeah.
kids too. That's a good idea, Torri. Good to know. What do you
Love
think,
her.
Faithy?
Of course, when you watch it, everything is just so antiquated and
Well, yes.
old and stuff. But I think that the gist of it, the relationships, that I think the premise of the movie stands the test of time. I mean, I rewatched it, and I mean, it's got so many great things in it. So I'm gonna give it the 2 thumbs up.
Oh, 2 thumbs
Still.
up.
Still
It
2
is
thumbs up.
actually after a real scenario. Did you know that? It's from a true story.
No.
What?
I'm going to be another guest on the podcast.
Yeah, you are.
No, it was 1980, and a lady from Florida fell overboard and washed up, or was found by another boat. And you can Google it. It was in Florida, and she had amnesia for several days. And
So it was
that's who she
based on that.
It was based on that. Yeah.
That did not come up in
Interesting.
my research. That is so cool.
Interesting. Thank you
Thank
very much. We'll have to give that a little look-see
Yeah.
to post on our socials this week.
What do you think, sister?
Well, something I've been doing since now that we're watching a movie every week. One thing I kind of do is I think, do I feel a lot differently about it watching it now compared to how I felt when I watched it then?
Yeah.
And I felt the same. I loved it. It was funny. It was sweet. I laughed. I got a little teary. There was nothing about it that made me think, oh, this was unhinged. As sometimes
a lot
that
of
does.
them from the 80s.
A lot of times that happens. So yeah, it absolutely stands the test of time for me. Like, highly recommend if you did not watch Overboard, have not watched Overboard, or it's been a really long time and you don't remember it, go watch it. It's
absolutely
great.
Pop some popcorn, get some M&Ms. And Torri and Faith, thank you for joining us today. Double the sisters, double the fun. We loved having you.
Y'all are going to have to come back again now that you've done it once. You have to come back again.
I'm not as nervous as I was when we started. So
you did a great job. You did a great job.
Fun. It was so much fun.
Thank y'all so much for asking us to do it. We had a blast.
Of
so
course.
glad.
Of course.
So glad.
We'll plan another one.
Missy, one other thing I was going to say about the movie, as we were talking about telling people to watch it, another thing I love about it's really clean.
It is really clean. Yeah.
It's clean,
you can watch it with
fun.
your kids, except for the buttock shot in the thong, but it has a point.
But they see that in real life.
You're right. They see it all the time.
Yeah.
All right, real fans. Now it's time for clues to next week's movie. Amanda, let's ping pong these. You start. And sisters, y'all see if you think you know what it is, but don't say it out loud if you do.
Okay.
All right, here's our first clue. The lead character borrows a wardrobe and an identity to land a big deal.
All right, second clue. It's set in New York City and gives us an inside look at the world of corporate America in the late 80s.
Okay, here's a third clue. Let's just say a very famous actor trades his whip for a briefcase. Think you know the answer? Tune in next week to find out.
Do you ladies think you know?
I don't.
No?
They don't know. Those were good clues.
Those were good clues. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Real Sisters Rewind. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with your friends. Thanks for joining us, Real fans. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Real fans.